Milo Radio.
Super Scribblenauts. It's been a while since we've gotten a new Scribblenauts game. It's pretty sad, honestly. As the game was such a promising concept, I never felt like it really reached its full potential. If you're unfamiliar with the series, Scribblenauts is a puzzle game series in which you must gain a star by summoning pretty much any object you want. You simply type in an object and it appears. This entry added the ability to add adjectives, so instead of just a bathtub, you could have an explosive bathtub. The game is fun to muck around with in the sandbox modes, but the puzzles aren't that great, honestly. It's best just to buy Unlimited, the next game, because it's much better. Not a bad game, but not as good as its sequels. Drawn to Life. I loved this game when I was younger. The game is an action platformer in which you sketch your character, equipment, and various objects in the environment. It's a pretty regular platformer with some story interaction between in a town hub area. The plot is that a race of creatures called Raposa, that's fox in Spanish, live in a world which was drawn by the creator. One Raposa dabbled in dark magic, and now everyone's missing, and also there are shadow monsters. You play as the creator, acting through a dummy which can be customized by the player. Each level has you saving a new character and collecting pages of a magical book thing. The new characters open up story interactions, and even sometimes shops in your town, making them a super great reward for victory, and fun to collect and see what will happen next. I found this game super hard as a young kid, and even still I find it pretty challenging. My first run through when I was younger was reliant on cheat codes. Also, can we quickly talk about cheat codes? I look up codes for games pretty often, and I'm nearly always disappointed. And while I can understand why a developer might not want to put these in the game, I think they have their place, mainly to make the game much more accessible for younger or even older players, so that they can actually play through the game start to finish. On the subject of Drawn to Life again, it honestly has a pretty passable plot with some good music and interesting plot points. One interesting fact is that it was nominated for Outstanding Achievement in Story Development at the 11th Annual Interactive Achievement Awards, along with BioShock, Mass Effect, and Uncharted Drake's Fortune. Mass Effect, or Drawn to Life? Anyway, the game is really solid and definitely worth tracking down. I never played the sequel, but I heard it was good, so maybe try that one as well. Another fantastic full-color manual in here as well. There's some nice art too. Combat of Giants, Dragons. I absolutely know why I bought this game. Check this box art out. It's two cool-ass dragons getting ready to beat each other up in the sky. It also came with some cards for a card game, but I've lost them. The first thing you notice about the game is that it has a lot of mystical made-up words and liberal use of apostrophes, with words like Ninurtu and Tamabuku and Durgas. My favorite, Catherine. That's not a joke, that's actually the name of a dragon, it's great. Basically, the plot is this. There's a dragon's world, and the dragons live there, but now it's been taken over by bad dragons. Now I've got to go beat them up. So the game plays as such. You move around from a top-down perspective and fight other dragons. The fighting takes up most of the game, and it's alright. It's swipe-based, as touchscreen gimmicks were still pretty big at the time. It's all about swiping and drawing between different dots quickly. It's all pretty basic. The game's biggest problem is it's very repetitive. The game's first world has a total of 12 levels, each about 6 minutes long. The problem is, you have to play through all these levels 4 times over. This adds up to a total of 48 levels per world. The reason you play through each level 4 times is because there are 4 types of dragon, and you have to play through each level with each dragon type. After the first world, you go into the second world, which once again has 48 levels. I didn't go further than this point because I just basically couldn't be screwed. The one thing that kept me playing though was the secret bosses. Instead of fighting a dragon boss, sometimes you'll get to fight a drum kit or a police car. It's very silly, but it adds a reason to keep playing. All in all, I think the game's pretty mediocre, but if you really like dragons, maybe, it's up to you. Pokemon White version. I thought about talking about this here, but the more I did, the more I realized it deserves its own video entirely. So instead of just brushing past it here, I'll give it a more in-depth look at another point. Pokemon Black version 2. Same with the original White version. I think this one needs more time in the limelight. Although, to be honest, this is mostly just me being lazy and not wanting to write any more script than I have to. Sonic Rush. This game still remains one of my favourite titles I ever picked up for the original DS. It's one of the last totally 2D Sonic games, and honestly, one of my favourite Sonic games overall. The game's main gimmick is that Sonic can jump off the bottom screen and land onto the top screen. While this is cool, it doesn't get used particularly often, which to be honest isn't a deal breaker for me, as I sometimes find gimmicks get in the way of good gameplay. And good the gameplay is. Like the original Sonic games, going fast isn't the default setting. Going fast is a reward for skilled gameplay and stage memorization. This makes replaying the game stages super rewarding, as finding new areas to go to really fast is incredibly satisfying. The game offers two characters, Blaze, who's a little slower but has more precise platforming, or Sonic, who just goes really fast all the time. That's basically all I can say about this game. It's absolutely great. Go emulate it right now, really. It does actually have a lot of bottomless pits now that I think back on it. This isn't scripted, but apart from that design fault, it is really good. You should go play it. Pokemon Conquest. Another game that really deserved its own review, but I recommend playing it anyway, right now. You don't need to know what it's about, as long as you like fantasy, sort of tactical RPGs. It's basically Fire Emblem with Pokemon, set in a medieval Japanese setting, with like some RTS space management. It's a real hidden gem, anyway. Seriously, go emulate it right now, it's really good. Postman Pat. This game is really bad, already covered it. One last point to make though, that I forgot in the review because that review was kind of rushed. And I don't know, I might come back to it, but probably not. It was $20, and the game lasts 20 minutes. Think about that. An average game is about 8 hours long, right? So $1 per minute would be $480 for an 8-hour game if we're running on the logic of Postman Pat for DS. That is 8 times more than the average game, implying that this game should cost 8 times less, meaning this $20 game should dollar game should cost $2.50. Case closed. It is what it's worth too. Actually, it should be free. This is the sort of thing where they'd give it out in some kids magazine. Or like Burger King. It's probably a Burger King game. Thanks for watching.